Clinton Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
Well, welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show.
347-205-9399. You know, I was just looking at the picture of Molly on POF USA website. It's kind of hot. I'm not going to lie. It's hot.
Look, anytime there's a woman running around with an AR platform rifle and a pistol strapped to her hip,
so nothing wrong with that.
Especially with the tricorn hat, I have to agree.
I'm just saying.
That's okay. So, and maybe this needs to be a Sackheads News poll. Which is hotter, the World War II bomber babes, the ones drawn on the nose of the bomber, or Molly from POF USA?
Everyone in the chat room, tell us what you think. Go to POFUSA.com. Look at Molly, and then you know which pictures are on the World War II bombers. Let us know in the chat room.
Tell them Sackhead sent you.
Tell them Sackhead sent you.
I'm going to say Molly.
Yeah?
I think so.
Nice.
I think so. There's some good nose art on some of those old aircraft, and I did have family that flew in the 17s in World War II. But Molly, you're right. Good call on that. That was an interesting observation.
Thank you very much.
I want to talk about Obama really kind of snubbed Russia, kind of gave them a diplomatic slap in the face, and I got to say, I kind of like it. Yeah, I like the fact that he met with the
it's
Ukraine,
almost presidential.
Almost. He met with the Ukrainian prime minister, which is great.
Right.
I think just the fact that he met with them is very important.
Well, you can't blame the Ukrainian prime minister. He wanted to get the hell out of that country before the Russians came.
Well, yeah.
He's like, can I have a meeting, please? Anywhere. I don't care. France, America. Oh, America will take me? Fine. Put me on a plane. Let's go.
Oh, America? Anybody else? Will the British see me?
Who's going to be there?
No.
Oh, I have to see the president? Oh.
Can I meet with Biden? At least he's funny.
How about this?
What about the Sackheads? Are they available? Can they interview me? I'm pretty sure he asked that. We don't have confirmation yet, but we're working on it. So,
ridiculous. Go on.
I said we don't have confirmation.
I really hope people who listen to us laugh at us as much as we laugh at ourselves. But go on.
And at them. I mean, really. So there's an upcoming vote this weekend in Crimea to have a referendum, basically, and hope to basically say, yeah, we want to join Russia, or no, we don't want to join Russia, and they're going to try and join Russia. So, and that could cause some real problems internationally. I mean, if Crimea says, hey, we want to join Russia. Now, let's examine this for a moment. I had kind of an interesting take on it, and I had this discussion with somebody the other day, and before I get called a flaming liberal, Western-hating hippie by one of our listeners in particular, if the Crimea region votes to pull away from the Ukraine, and let's just walk this all the way through before comment, please. So if they decide to pull away and join with Russia, in this country we believe that people have the right to govern themselves. And there is talk of a convention of states. There has been talk of certain states seceding from the United States. It has happened in our past, obviously. And the argument has been, hey, if the government is not representing our interests, do we not have a right to change that, to change that, our government? Do we not have a right to have people govern us as we think is in our best interest? And we take that very seriously in this country, particularly on the right. I mean, we really do. We're about individual liberties and so forth. So if a region, let's say Texas decided they wanted to secede from the United States because they believe they're no longer representative, their interests are not represented in Washington, they believe they could function better under their own governmental system. Some people on the right would probably support that, right? Hey, hopefully there's no bloodshed, that they have a right to govern themselves. If California wanted to split into 2, 3, 4, 6 different states, if counties in a particular state wanted to split off and form a new state, people tend to be okay with that. People have supported those efforts. So what's the difference? And it's an interesting discussion point. What's the difference? If Crimea really believes that the Russia could represent their interests best, what's the difference if they pull off and join Russia? Now, I understand they're not forming their own form of government, and that's kind of the difference we're talking about between our system and theirs. But if their people believe that the Russian system would represent them better, how do we support one and not the other? And again, this is just for discussion purposes only. I'm not saying that I support them pulling away and going to Russia, because I do not for strategic purposes. But if our sense of liberty says that, hey, the people have a right to decide for themselves and it's none of our business, can a straight-faced conservative argument be made, or certainly a libertarian argument be made, for them to do that? Now, Obama did say something interesting, and I want to tie it together before we have a caller on hold, and I want to get to this caller. But Obama said while meeting with the Ukrainian Prime Minister that if the votes occur, quote, we, meaning the United States, will not recognize any referendum that goes forward. But he also said that Russia could face costs, but said that the action was being done at, quote, the barrel of a gun. Now, I read that in the article that I read about the meeting, and several sites have it. Fox News has it, of course. And something interesting struck me when Obama said at the barrel of a gun, and made it sound a very negative way. Do you guys remember Ron Bloom? Ron Bloom was Obama's car czar, basically. He was the czar in charge of manufacturing policy for the president of the United States, President Obama. And what he said, and there was a quote during a speech in 2008 at the 6th Annual Distressed Investing Forum at the Union League Club, he said, quote, generally speaking, we get the joke. We know that the free market is nonsense. We know the whole point is to game the system, to beat the market, or at least find someone who will pay you a lot of money, because they're convinced that there is a free lunch. We know this is largely about power, that it's an adults-only no-limit game. We kind of agree with Mao that political power comes largely from the barrel of a gun. And we get that if you want a friend, you should shoot a dog. So I find it interesting that President Obama, and people have made the argument that, hey, he has some Marxist undertones, and I'm putting that very lightly. Some people call him an outright Marxist. But there certainly have been Marxist undertones in some of the things that he's done. So to have one of his czars,
he's created,
right? So to have one of his czars basically quoting Mao Zedong, we kind of agree with Mao that political power largely comes from the barrel of a gun. And now Obama is saying, well, it's from the barrel of a gun. First of all, his choice of words are interesting to me, because that phrase is obviously familiar to him, which nothing wrong with reading Mao. I've read Mao. You have to read, right, you have to read it in order to understand it, to know whether you agree with it or not. I do not. But then one of his czars, Ron Bloom, quotes Mao in that respect. And then Obama kind of quotes Mao. It's the same terminology used to describe something, and I find it interesting.
I do find it interesting. Listen, I'm going to back it up to, you know what? Before I back it up, we have an awesome friend on hold, and actually, I would love to have her input on this as well. And I know she's been listening on hold.
On which part?
The entire segment.
Okay.
And we'll go to a break and take her on the other side. Our good friend, professional radio show host,
big deal,
huge deal,
huge deal. Matter of fact, that's her. She actually got a legal name change here on Seconds Radio to Big Deal.
She's live Monday through Friday, noon to 3 on the Pacific Time, 1430 KYKN in Salem. And the host of the Tamara Jackson Show. Tami, how are you? Congratulations.
Tamara Big Deal Jackson. Congratulations.
Okay, is that picture not the funniest thing ever?
I think it's awesome. I think that sums you up, though, so well.
Some of the comments I've had, I got to tell you, I got an email back from my uncle, and it said, I recognize you, but who are those other newbies? And then one fellow who is a good friend, who's the father of Hugh Hewitt's producer, said, Well, it'd be really impressive if there were some big names on the page, you know. But the first time I saw it, I started laughing so hard. I thought, well, we need the Sesame Street song that says, "Which one of these things is not like the other?" you know, to start playing, because it's the big boys of talk radio in their suits, looking serious, and in the middle of it, there's some blonde that's cracking up, like, "Sorry guys, Rush, you don't mind if I stand next to you, do you?"
Yeah, do you have a caption contest with that?
We should have a caption contest with that. That would be outstanding.
Yeah, well,
I think we'd have so much fun.
It could be a lot of fun because it is hysterical. I told everybody, go ahead and laugh because I don't throw tomatoes. And so they're calling it Midday with Tami Jackson, and all my friends are saying it'll probably, you know, turn into Midday with Tami J, which is, you know, that's fine with me.
I think that's a great name. I think that
Yeah.
just flows off the tongue. I say we should go for it. So now that you're a professional radio host extraordinaire on terrestrial radio, and we are just extraterrestrial radio, mere what's the word I'm looking for? Slackers? I think slackers.
I was going to say
No, you guys will always be my top shelf buddies.
Oh, so sweet. I was digging for a compliment, and we got one. Perfect.
You had to dig twice.
No, you know I love you guys. You've always been encouraging me, and I tell you, I have the best friends in the world. And I really figure the only reason I'm here is, quite frankly, I say God opens doors and I run through them, but I run through them because I have friends like you guys that encourage me. And otherwise I'd be thinking, gee, you know, do you suppose I can do that? Well, now the way it is, before I have a chance to say no, I just hurry up and agree to do these things. And I told someone, I've told a few friends actually, that I'm 95% very excited and 5% terrified. So there you go.
Which is good because that keeps you sharp.
Absolutely
I
does.
guess so. And it keeps you humble because, you know, this has all really come about pretty quickly for me. So I figure, well, okay, no holds barred. I'm just absolutely going to go for it.
And,
yeah.
And I gotta ask, when did you find out? Was that today?
Well, no. Okay, this is the way it went down. I knew that there was a possibility that Bill Post might have to step down, but that comes with the equal access ruling, and it's only if you have an opponent, and only if you have an opponent that contacts you legally. So until that time, you can be on air, you can be doing a show if that's your livelihood, being a talk show host. Bill was not only the talk show host, he is the station. He's the operations manager of the station. So he wears several hats. He really does a whole tremendous amount of work. And he's a fantastic guy, and I've gotten to know him pretty well. He's become a good friend. The station owner is a fantastic person. They're both conservatives all the way around, rock solid people.
Which we love.
Yeah, oh yeah. And so he had invited me to be his guest show host. Then I knew this was coming along. He was running for a congressional seat in the state of Oregon. And what happened is we've got some conservatives, well, not conservatives, and let me rephrase that. We've got some Republicans here in the state that are the old boy network that include Bob Patwood, that are firmly pro-choice, anything for marriage. I mean, beyond anything libertarian you can think of, these people are the old boy network. And this is why we've lost campaigns for about 3 decades, because we've had those kind of mediocre, not conservative GOPers running for office. So what they've done is, they found somebody to go up against Bill in the primary, and I don't know anything about her personally, but I do know that she's good friends with that inner sanctum that's really, really tight and has, you know, in fact, there's a big GOP convention every year in the late winter on the coast called Dorchester, and it's become more and more and more a rhino conference with fewer attendees. I went once when I was a new media manager for a campaign that was pretty big, and I was appalled. at what went on there. Well, this year, Oregon Family Council, and they work with AFP and National Right to Life and a number of very conservative organizations. They sponsored an alternative event. They gave people something like 3 days' notice, and 700 people showed up. And over at the coast, they were left with a paltry 200 or 300 at what is supposed to be the big GOP bash of the year. So this is what's people are waking up all over the state, and they realize, no, we want less government intrusion. We want lower taxes. And it's okay if we say that we're pro-life and all this stuff, and quit telling us to shut up about those things if we don't want to. And, that doesn't mean we're going to vote for everybody that is perfect, but we're going to vote for conservative people. So this is what's going on in the state. This opponent was brought up against Bill, and on Monday, lawyers had been hired and a suit was delivered to the station demanding equal access. So what happens when that takes place, a given station has to give an opponent equal time on the air. So, and it's not only for that day going forward, it's for 7 days in arrears. So they would have had to give this opponent, I suppose, 21 hours plus 3 hours a day going forward. Well, you just can't do that and be a station. So they had this plan in place last November when Bill knew he was going to seek this office, and I didn't know about it, but I was evidently on deck. And so and there were rumors. They'd thrown around the idea of giving me an hour drive time show in the afternoon, which would have been a lot of fun, and then that was kind of squelched. And I thought, gosh, why'd you do that? Well, because if this came up, they couldn't have me doing that plus take over 3 hours a day. So what has happened is they called me. It was an urgent call on Monday. I went down and met with the owner of the station and with Bill on Tuesday. We talked everything over, and I said, okay, I'll do her. So what this means is that I've got this 3-hour show, and it is only midday with Tami Jackson. That's it. The other names cannot be mentioned. We're not going to transgress anything possible because we want Bill Post to do well. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and so I'm in there 3 hours a day, 5 days a week for 2 months at this point, and then we will reassess. So then if he wins the general, then it's until November. And then after that, we'll see what they revisit with offers.
Well, at that point, you'll probably be on satellite, so there's nothing who can do to stop you.
I don't know, but it's what's really great is in all this time of writing and my streaming show and the guest hosting and being on with you guys and everything, I have accrued all these fantastic friends that I love with my whole heart, that are interesting people, that are good conservatives, that have great backgrounds, some of them big Second Amendment, some big on other social issues, you name it. And so I've accrued all these people, and I thought, okay, I'm calling in favors, baby. Because I've now got 15 hours a week, and even though you all know I can talk, but wow, 15 hours. So
you're gonna knock it out of the park. Yeah, there is not a doubt in my mind.
Well, you know what makes me feel really good?
And you may be humble, but we're totally gonna brag on your behalf.
Thank you.
We're going to have a Sackheads of War show, and I'm pretty sure you're going to sweep a lot of categories.
Oh, this is why I love you guys. Well,
which is funny,
I felt so
good. We have an award of the best noon to 3 host in the greater Salem, Oregon area. And
with the initials TJ. So
I think you're right up front there. I really think you're going to edge that out. I don't know.
I think I might win that one.
Tacos
like I'm my dad's favorite daughter sort of deal. Oh my goodness. Today this is so cool. I got some emails from people in Oregon that said, are you going to be taking over that slot? We hope it's you. And one fellow said, I called the station to demand what was going on, and then I told him, you tell the station owner that they've got to put Tami on for that segment. We're voting for Tami. And so I saw these emails, and I thought, oh, my goodness, that just blesses my heart that they would do that. And so I've been receiving messages from a lot of people saying they're really excited about me being on for however long it's going to be. So that that makes me feel good.
We're proud of you, and we know you're going to do great. We have no doubt. We're close to a break, Tami. Do you want to break early and come back and talk about Russia?
Let's break early. I'd really like to get Tami's thoughts on Russia, and in particular the question I threw out about the Crimea region voting to pull off, and kind of the comments made about their right to do so, because I think that's an interesting discussion point, because I think conservatives can actually make a bold-faced argument for both sides of that issue.
Absolutely.
And I haven't heard it being discussed. I do want to make one plug.
Okay.
Last Wednesday, we nailed something.
We did nail something.
So last Wednesday, we talked about, hey, there's something that's not being talked about as part of the story, and that is we have U.S. astronauts on the space station with Russian astronauts and one Japanese astronaut, and the Russians are our ride. And on Friday, I was watching Fox News. Gretchen Carlson, I believe, had a segment and said, and so she said something to the effect of, I saw this come over the wire on Thursday, which I'd like to remind everybody is after Wednesday when we put it out. And she said, this is funny, and I'd like to talk about this, and this is a story that nobody's talking about, which is clearly a bald-faced inaccuracy.
Absolutely.
Because we talked about it on Wednesday. And she brought up the fact that the Russians give us rides to space, and we have 2 American astronauts on the space station and so forth. So I just want to brag.
So we nailed that.
We nailed it. And
we called the fact that Tami was going to be a superstar.
We did. We're pretty much nailing it. High five. There we go. Now I'm ready to take a break after my break.
Fist bumps all over the place there at Sackheads.
347-205-9399. We're going to be back at 3 here on the Sackheads Radio Show.
Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads
Radio.
Sackheads Radio.
Reactionaries speak.